right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ushanka Show live, transmitting from Michigan, Southwest Michigan. Thank you for joining. Already 19 people. I'm gonna be doing a little bit silly way. I'm streaming from my phone, but I'm gonna look at a computer screen to answer questions. Because my computer is kind of outdated model, it doesn't handle live really well, so we're gonna try to find my own show, and this will be easier to watch. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so we got already questions like who is my favorite leader. I would say Gorbachev because he kind of made life more fun in Soviet Union. Of course, that fun didn't last long in 1991. So basically, he became a leader in 85, and 6 years later, there was no more Soviet Union. But otherwise, I think, the only leaders I experienced personally will be Brezhnev. Well, I don't count like Andropov, Chernenko. They were like in and out so fast that. Oh, here we go. I don't count like Andropov. Get the sound off. Okay, here we go. I'm looking at the live feed, so I'm sorry, I won't be looking at the screen. I'll be looking at the computer screen. So here we go. There is a comment about Chernobyl that CIA sabotage unit number 4. Well, I read somewhere that original design was actually it's American design, that graphite moderated reactors, but they refused it because they considered it too dangerous. And KGB borrowed the design, and Soviet government really liked it because it was a really powerful reactor, inexpensive to build, and so they went for it. Okay, looks like a bunch of people gathered before even noon, so thank you guys for joining me. I'm working through the comments here really quick. I just want to say thank you to everyone who signed to my channel. I technically own you a bunch of live streams because my rule was originally that every time we get to another 8,000 subscribers, we do live questions and answers. So my plan was this Sunday I expected to have 8,000 subscribers. Now we got 9, 10, 11, 12, and I think I'm past 13,000, which is insane. But thank you for joining. Thank you for signing up to my channel, and I'm very impressed, and it feels good about the fact that not just one video. I mean, the main video that drives the traffic to my channel is 5 things that Chernobyl show missed. But I see across the whole channel, across of my 100-some videos, traffic picked up quite a bit. So people actually, they discover my channel because of Chernobyl video, and then they go and they look at watch other videos and they like it. So, all right. So, okay, we'll go through your comments and questions. Popular question I want to ask about Gopnik. It just so I guess it'll be Soviet or Russian version of Bad Boys. So they don't have enough money to buy a car, so they just hang out in the corners, and the way they hang out, they just squat, eat sunflower seeds, smoke, drink, and then they harass people walking by, trying to get some money off them so they can buy more cigarettes and alcohol. So that's kind of like, it developed like a subculture, but usually Russians and Soviet youth always prefer Adidas brand, so that's be Adidas black pants, of course black collar too. So black pants, black jacket, this little hat. Okay, so like I personally, like I wasn't part of the culture. I was a good pupil, and I was reading books and going to the library instead of hanging out on the streets. All right, here we go. Were the other republics actually enthusiastic about being in the Soviet Union? I think by the end of the life in Soviet Union, no one was enthusiastic anymore. It's just when you see it's pretty much like a parallel reality when what they tell you on TV and radio and in newspapers looks all rosy and everything is awesome, and we are just about to uh, be in a communism era. And but then in real life, you go, there's empty grocery stores and some stores. I mean, like Moscow had was stocked pretty good. So he became sarcastic and nihilist about whole thing. So I don't think anyone by the end of Soviet Union was happy about being a Soviet Union. But of course, some republics they were like subsidized by like so Russian Federation, Ukraine was subsidizing a bunch of Asian republics. So all right. I can tell you that Estonians were definitely not enthusiastic about Soviet Union. Yeah, Baltic states generally, um, they were not fully. I mean, it takes probably a generation or two till all the people will disappear who remember good old times. So Baltics were fresh. We'll put that way. They were 30, almost 40. Yeah, 1970. So 39, they got taken over. Then they had a little break. So yeah, I remember actually we had it because we went to Riga, which is capital of Latvia, in like 1987, and I remember people were telling me like, hey, if you try to buy something in a store in Riga, try to speak Ukrainian because if you speak Russian, they're gonna ignore you because they don't like Russians. But honestly, I was okay with spoke Russian and there in Riga we had no problems. But I found some older people in Riga that barely spoke Russian. I was shocked how come they barely speak Russian. It's kind of mentality because Ukraine kind of got Russified pretty well. Like I'm Ukrainian, but my first language was Russian. Okay, moving along. Greetings from Sweden. Hello. I'm also very impressed. Thank you so much for joining the conversation about Chernobyl because I got so many amazing comments from all over the world, including Sweden, Brazil, Australia, Greece, and people share their experiences of 1986 and how the Chernobyl pollution reached that far areas. So that kind of tells you the scale, how bad it was. Like honestly, at that time, although and finally the Soviet government admitted the problem, they never said how bad it was. Like I discovered about levels of radiation in Kiev just a couple of weeks ago, and I knew it was not good, but I didn't know how horrible it was. Just like in the show, which it's not great, but it's not horrible, but not that great either. But that was actually horrible. The level of radiation, like 1.2 R an hour in big city, it's insane high. But of course, it's you need to be on the street where the pollution was. Um, like at the nuclear facilities, usually radiation, it's like in pipes. They move radioactive water, just like in the show, Dyatlov said it's a feed water. So it's what the radiation is, on the elbows of pipes and other spots when the water's kind of been stagnant, that's where the deposits settle, and then you have so-called hotspot. So you might have a 1.2 R readings when you right next to the pipe. In case of Kiev, it was just outside, it was just polluted from all these particles that got ejected out of reactor core. So of course, if you sit inside and windows closed, doors closed, you don't drink fresh milk, you don't get that much radiation. But if you're on the street on a parade, you get it good. So yeah, I don't know how bad it was. All right, moving along. Watching from Estonia. Hello. Um, okay. How do you feel about the solution of Soviet Union? I already did quite a few videos about it. It's just the tree that got rotten from inside. Doesn't matter how big it was. It was just time. Uh, it, if you look in any country that tried socialism system, it just doesn't work. It's great idea. It's ideal system for ideal people. But the problem is there's no ideal people, and it's just you set up system for failure. I think the main reason why socialist systems collapse is because extremely low productivity. Um, so we just had shortages of pretty much everything. The life with deficit. It's pretty much besides basic goods, and a lot of it was government was subsidizing like basic grocery items like bread, milk. Um, and we had shortage of those because we actually were buying millions and maybe billions of dollars worth of grains and wheat like from United States and Canada. So our enemies were feeding us. So that's pretty kind of tell you how whole system is broken. By the way, guys, if you want some really your question to stand out, there's a dollar mark below this chat. If you donate any money, if you feel like it, that question will be like my priority to answer. Otherwise, I'm just working through the list. Did Gorbachev end the Cold War? Was it Reagan or a combination of two? I think Gorbachev was kind of, we'll put it in the mood to end up the race because we just were out of money, out of resources. And I think it was I mean, my personal opinion that if you have nuclear weapons, then why do you need to have other type of military, like military built up? If you have enough nuclear warheads, no one will be messing with you, so you don't need to have a huge army. But for some reason, that was the mentality. They were cranking tanks by, hundreds of thousands, and they kept huge army. All right, Holly's asking what food do you miss from your childhood? I got really lucky because my wife, she's American, and she likes to cook, and she learned from my mother or from recipes how to cook a lot of dishes that I like. So I like borscht. I like a lot of soups, and she knows how to make those. There's a sirniki. I'm actually trying to talk to her into making maybe some kind of video for you guys, Americanized versions of Russian, Ukrainian dishes, and maybe you'll be curious to try. So in that part, I'm very lucky. I won't say I have a horrible cravings, but my diet back in Ukraine was pretty much meat and potatoes. I like mashed potatoes, fried potatoes. I like salo, of course, because I'm Ukrainian. Salo is like a pork fat, pork lard. So I used to miss canned fish and also like pickled fish, silotka. But over the years, I live in America since 1999. My something changed in my mouth and my tongue. I don't know how to explain it, but when I finally got some cod liver, and it's a canned cod liver, and I started eating, and I almost puked. And that was a really bizarre experience because, like, I know in my mind I love it, but my whole like my body was refusing to take it, and I was like, I'm not really enjoying it. I'm about to puke, and I quit eating it. So that's really weird. Same happened with sprouts. I used to love smoked sprouts, and then I bought some and I started eating, and it was exactly the same thing. I'm eating it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not enjoying it whatsoever. Like I lost completely. Like it's disgusting now. And as my wife put it, it's too fishy. It's a really weird expression, right? The fishy fish, but that's what it is. It's fish tastes too fishy. It's real bizarre. We have already 144 viewers, which is fantastic. Thank you for joining me. But we're pretty weak. We have only 24 likes, which is not great, but not terrible either. So if you don't mind, click the like for this video. Then we see that those rates are going up, just like they're supposed to. Okay. I got a couple small donation with congratulations with subscribers. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's insane. Uh, sometimes I had that feeling that my channel pretty much like under some kind of lead because I know I'm creating pretty decent product, say product videos, and I'm just kind of lucky that my English is pretty good. Although I had some comments where people hated my accent, and I grew up in the Soviet era. Like I was lucky. I was born in 1971, so I spent 20 years in Soviet Union, and when it collapsed, I was young enough to adopt and change my. I learned English and all that, so it worked out really well for me. Uh, and I have a really good memory, and I mean, like I don't remember what I did 2 months ago, but I remember events of way back, like when I was 5, and we did with Grandpa fishing. So that's really weird. So I think it's kind of a unique situation that I can tell you stories in a decent English, uh, and not many people from former Soviet Union that can do that. So but the views were just pretty not strong. Okay, we had another, let me see here. Sorry about that. We got a question with the, okay. So Frederick is asking, what was the life of plumber and electric trades in USSR? Uh, those were pretty decent jobs and then weren't high paid, but usually if you want to get somebody to serve you, you need to bribe them. So you can always make extra money on side. Uh, and it's plumbing was easier because most people in cities live in a big apartment. So, you don't go like in the basement or crawl space try to find leaks. It's pretty much you can fix them if it's in the bathroom, or you can't do anything because it's a pipe in tom on a concrete wall. You just say sorry. It's when we tear down this building, then we can fix your problem. Um, but this is one of the kind of situation in Soviet Union that everyone was getting paid about the same. The highest paid people, besides like party officials, were like coal miners. Coal miners were making like 500 rubles a month, which was really good money. The average salary was around 120 to 150 rubles a month. Uh, Not great, but not terrible either. So, uh, but some people actually already made a video about taxi drivers. They were making a killing. If you're interested, just kind of go through my videos. I talk about Soviet taxi drivers. They could make about 70 rubles extra a day, which is only like your monthly salary in one day. So yeah, that was the Soviet Union was like a lot of was like backwards. People who like I was already mentioning that like waitresses and waiters were making a lot of money, which sounds bizarre, but they were the ones who were rich in Soviet Union. So basically, if you have access to goods, that's when you're doing well in Soviet Union. So here, it was less about money, it's more access to goods because you can turn goods, since it's a shortage, into good cash. Okay, moving along. Who is better, Stalin or Trotsky? I never, I learned quite a bit about Trotsky, and he actually predicted the collapse of Soviet Union because of the Soviet bureaucracy. But on the grand scale, I don't think there'll be much difference between those if Trotsky would remain as a leader. Maybe it'll be even uglier because Trotsky was a hardcore world revolution type of person. So I don't know, but I was planning to make a video about it, but I think Stalin actually did the Trotsky's policy about world revolution, but he did it sneaky way. They ended up taking half of the Europe after World War II, but before the war, he was actually supplying Hitler with a lot of material. So, anyways, moving along. How do you feel about the dissolution of the Soviet Union? I already answered that. How well did they cover up Chernobyl? Well, it's my videos about it. It was just such a grand scale that you just couldn't cover up anymore. They had to admit because Sweden, Finland noticed the spikes in radiation. Then Americans took photos from satellites, so they just couldn't. They wish they could, but they couldn't. They covered before, actually. I'm planning to make another video that Chernobyl had leaks, say before, not a grand scale, but that was there. Привет из Minsk. Hello, we got a viewer from Minsk, Belarus. How's it going? Nice talking to you again. Why did you use graphite? There's plenty of videos on YouTube about how the Chernobyl reactor works. It's called moderator. It kind of keeps reactor in check so it doesn't go nuclear. Say that because when you get that fusion reactor, you need to keep it in check. Usually people use boron to slow down neutrons and keep under control how much heat comes out, how much power reactor produces. How do people think about the USA in the USSR? There was a lot of propaganda. Once again, I had several videos on that topic. We had mixed feelings. Like we really were envy. We wanted Levi's jeans. We wanted to like Pepsi Cola, but of course there was a lot of about Americans trying to destroy us. Like I was quite scared kid about the nuclear war. I also had a video about it. So if you're interested, just kind of go through my videos, check it out. Okay, we got 184 people joining. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Happy Father's Day to anyone who are a father. In Soviet Union, we didn't have Father's Day. We only had. Oh, I'm good. Thank you. We had only February 23rd was Red Army Day. Well, my wife is not happy the way my face is, so we're gonna change the camera. Just a second. Well, women. No, it's too high. No, how my face is. Apologize for that. Ooh. What do you know about other Soviet planned errors? Well, if you watch the Chernobyl show, they mentioned that similar design reactor had a partial meltdown in Leningrad, and I think you can find some information about it on the internet, but they managed to cover it up. Wow, we got 200 people watching and even have one dislike. That's interesting. Always apologize just about that collapse on my camera. As I said, I'm streaming from my phone. So we need definitely at least 100 hours, 100 likes. So, and that was the pretty much kind of showed the problem with that design of reactors. Then Chernobyl had a partial meltdown in unit number one, I believe. So it's really complicated technology to run nuclear plant. One of the reason nuclear industry kind of in decline all over the world except China. It's just it's really hard to run that type of plant, although it's way better like for environment than let's say coal burning plants. I remember hearing a story that there is I think it's a 3 Mile Island, right? They had actually two nuclear units. One is shut down because of meltdown. Another one was still in service. Next to that nuclear plant, there's a coal plant. So anytime there's a wind from the coal plant, all the outside radiation monitors started screaming at the nuclear plant because there's so much crap in smoke coming out of coal plants. There's a lot of residual uranium and other bad stuff in the coal. So when you burn it, you kind of like condense all the goodies, we'll put it that way, and then you inject to the atmosphere. So coal plants are really horrible for the environment. That's the worst thing you can use to produce electricity. So at least natural gas is way better than that. But it's way easier, if you want to shut down a boiler like with coal, you just turn it off and it's off. If you're trying to shut down a nuclear reactor, there's still a lot of so-called residual heat. So it doesn't just go cold instantly. You need to have a lot of cooling systems to keep it down. Okay, moving along. The comment about RBMK can explode. That's why they use graphite. You know, actually, there wasn't a reactor that exploded. It was when the water turns into steam. This is what causes explosions. It just, steam needs way more room than the water. So if you have a tiny amount of water in a tight environment, it turns to steam and it goes kaboom. Question from Shelby. Is that Shelby? Is that a guy or is a lady? Confused on that part. So let me know because I see you comment a lot and I'm glad you like my show. And I'm always like, I wonder is it a guy or is it a girl? Anyway, so there's a term douchebag. Do we have anything comparable in Russian? Well, interesting. In Russian, we use French word douche. It's a shower. So if you want to go to shower, you go to douche. So if you want politely to tell someone to go wash yourself or to go disappear, say, hey, go to douche. And one time when my wife was in Ukraine visiting, I wasn't there that time. My mom, she doesn't speak any English, so she was telling Cheryl like if she's welcome to use our shower. She's like, Cheryl, douche, welcome, douche. And my wife got really confused about that part. So I would say word mudak, M-U-D-A-K, would be the closest to douchebag. Привет из Нидерландов. Hello, got Netherlands. Uh, Congratulations with 13,000 subscribers. It's awesome to see your channel grow. It's really, not even growing. It just went definitely like even nuclear. It's insane. I look at statistics. It's kind of scary because, I have 2 years now the Ushanka Show, and it was maybe growing 100 to 300 people per month. Now it's 5,000 people in 1 week. It's really scary. Like it's anyway, but I hope we can handle it and just produce videos that you guys like and learn more about Soviet Union. And Russia today is close to 50s USA, and the USA is similar to Stalin USSR. I would argue about that, but definitely the person that runs the show in White House right now, he started using a lot of vocabulary of Stalin, like calling press enemy of the people and stuff like that. It's really rings the bell of it was a favorite Stalin's rhetoric about enemies of the people, enemy of the state. Is Chernobyl really safe to visit? I mean, what is safe? When you fly an airplane, you get in pretty decent dose from sun radiation because you're so up high. So probably flying to Ukraine to visit Chernobyl, you'll get as much radiation as visiting Chernobyl. So I would say it's safe if you listen to instructions and you stay in the area. So there's the comments about graphite as a neutron moderator, just like a boron that they use in American nuclear plants. That's why if you watch the Chernobyl show, when first thing they started doing is dumping sand and boron into the reactor head to just slow down the reaction in the reactor. Okay, moving along. Were the other 14 republics enthusiastic about being Soviet Union? I already answered that. I said no one. I'm very happy that collapse of Soviet Union was so peaceful. You expect to be maybe like at that moment Russia will be moving troops into other republics. Well, Gorbachev kind of tried to do that with the Baltic states, but otherwise it was peaceful. I guess everyone was ready for it. It just you know sometimes you see something looks solid and you push your finger, it just kind of falls apart. The Soviet Union was ready to go. Okay. We got some people watching a show and like gopniks eating semechki and drink. Good job. You need to get the gopnik hat too then. Oh, speaking of radiation, I want to show you off something. I purchased that. It's not advertising, but there's a cool website called Cheaper Than Dirt. And I bought this thing. This is the Zimacher, made in 1971. I believe it's made in Soviet Union, but it was used by Polish army, and they were getting rid of them a couple of years ago. I bet you right now you can probably get some really good money for it. But yep, so this is a vintage 1971 dosimeter. And I got a cool case for it, and like a book, and I think they had it in service till 2007, which is amazing. And of course, it has a. I wish I could make my dishwasher beep, then we can say that it's not great, but not terrible either. So yeah, this is my device. I need just to put the fresh batteries in it, and I have my school diary from 1986 in eighth grade, and I would like to check it out. Okay, we are back. Hi, hello again. Moving along. Hey, thank you. Somebody just donated $5. No question asked. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. I just want to let you know what's going on. I'm a busy family man, just like a lot of guys here in America or all over the world. I work full time. I write books. I have a garden. I need more grass. And I'm not super computer savvy person, so I have someone who helping me. His name is Bogdan. He lives in Moldova, so he's the guy who actually stands behind the videos. So I produce you know, audio, send it to him. I kind of talk about what I want to have in the video done, and he's working on it. So sometimes there's a pictures that don't really match the story because he's way younger, so he doesn't. So if I don't check or if I'm too busy, sometimes there's something modern that will come through. But otherwise, so I'm paying him some money. He he volunteered. He just wanted to help. But so your donations go for making videos because I feel bad. You know, I got kind of Americanized, I guess, in that way. I don't want anyone to do a job for me free of charge. So I pay him money to make help me with videos. Otherwise, the best I could do would be just like talking like this on the screen, and I think you'll find it super boring. So thank you so much for your donations. I said it helped him because in Moldova, I don't think economical situation that was awesome, and you guys can enjoy videos and learn something new. It's all like for me, it's all about learning. I look at these videos like sharing my experience and sharing my knowledge about those events because I'm afraid, you know, it's like I'm really feel sad now that I didn't talk enough to my grandfather about his experiences in World War II and before. I loved his stories, but you know, I was small kid, 7, 8 years old, so I could get better information. All right, moving along. There's a, what is your opinion about Russia taking back Crimea? Uh, well, they broke the agreement because when in 1991-92, Ukraine agreed to transfer all the nuclear weapons from their territory to Russia. Part of that nuclear agreement was that Russia respects territory the current situations with territory in Ukraine. And the way the language was, like they didn't guarantee, but they respected. So I think what they did were wrong, and now Russian people are paying for it because of the sanctions. I don't want to get too much into it. There's a lot of conspiracy theories flying about it that NATO was planning to put the Navy base in Crimea, which is totally, I think, stupid. There's no like a grand scale value for Black Sea. For NATO already got the choke on the Black Sea because Turkey is part of NATO, and Turkey has you can't go out of Black Sea. You got to go through those straits. So I don't see any value in that, but there's a possibility that they kind of triggered Putin somehow to go into Crimea to then make the situation worse in Russia, hoping that Russians will get rid of Putin. I don't know, but as a Ukrainian, uh, it was illegally done. They brought their troops without military insignia. They did this bogus uh, voting, and here we are. So, you know, if we're talking about people saying about справедливость, that Crimea was always Russian, was not always Russian. There were, you know, it was originally Tatar population there, but Stalin got them all deported in 1944. So of course, if all the Tatars lived there, then Crimea would probably be independent, little country on its own. So anyway, moving along. There is the question about. I live in the United States, so I'm not sure what is the nuclear situation in Ukraine, but I bet you it's not good. Actually, someone just posted a comment in my video that they went on a trip in Ukraine, like they took a boat from Kiev down the Dnieper River, and they picked up, and then he works in the nuclear industry. So when he did the whole body count, they call it, they discovered they actually picked up some cesium. So he picked up some radiation 1 billion in Kiev because, you know, technically whatever in Chernobyl, it's kind of like not exactly contained because you have Pripyat River, so stuff gets into Pripyat River, gets to the Dnieper River, and then working down goes to the Black Sea. So you cannot like absolutely seal that nuclear fallout. What was cinema like in USSR? I'm planning to make a video about it, but we had some foreign movies. We actually had some American movies. Those were mega popular, like a movie Convoy with I forgot the guy's name, Jefferson or something, or Chris Christopherson, right? Oh man, I went to see that movie twice. That was blast. So it was not cheap, and that was usually if you date someone, that's you take girls to the movies because there's really not much entertainment. You don't have a car, But this is kind of like you take girl for ice cream, you take her to the movies. But there was mostly were of course Soviet movies. Okay, moving along. What was it like to smoke in Soviet Union? Already got the whole giant video about it. If you check my videos, I have a whole topic, whole video dedicated to smoking in Soviet Union. Would you shoot dogs for 1,000 rubles? You know, it's funny. When I watched with my wife that video, I right away said this part they made just for foreigners because in Soviet Union, dogs mostly used to be treated like dogs, literally. So dog will be outside, in the doghouse in a little budka, and he was guarding, your household. You don't keep dog inside, he just does a job, and so shooting dogs. I mean, I bet you there'll be a big line of people if you over 1,000 rubles. It's huge money to go shoot dogs. I mean, those they would starve to death anyway. So because most dogs can't survive on their own. Cats can, dogs can't usually. Okay, so as I said, that part they stretch it quite a bit, and I just like this is I knew because that will hurt. You know, it's just the mentality. It's a Hollywood. There's a couple no-nos like you don't kill kids in the movies. They'll usually survive, and you don't kill pets because it's just for some reason it just blows people's mind. Okay, there's the firefighters dying from radiation poisoning. Well, poor guys, but oh my God, they killed the doggy. It's just the mentality, different mentality. Okay, I lost the track where we're at. Has anyone successfully sued the government? Questioned, and we got donation for €2. That's so cool. Thank you so much for the donation. Soviet government to sue Soviet government? Of course not. Uh, it's I don't think we have that, even the concept of suing the government. Period. I mean, you can if you have some kind of weight in the system, like academic Sakharov, you can you know do something, but there's no way you can sue your own government with. There was nothing like that at all. Like you go and sue somebody. Usually, people were taking care of that themselves. Like if you for example, my grandparents used to have a dog, and I guess he was yapping too much, so neighbors were annoyed with it, but they didn't go and sue him. They just took a chunk of meat, put a couple sewing needles in the meat, fed the dog. Dog died, painful death, and they took care of the problem that way. So, okay, there's a lot of questions, and I'm trying to catch up. We got over 200 people watching, so it's awesome. It's a new record, and we got 2 KGB guys put 2 dislikes, so thanks so much. But see if we can reach 200 likes. That'll be awesome. So anyone who didn't put the like under this stream, please join me and put the like. Okay. I'm from Lithuania, and I remember there was my uncle's wedding a few days after Chernobyl, and they got very drunk and ended up swimming in rainwater. Half of people there got cancer. See, that's a great comment. Thank you, Karolistas. No one can tell like how many actual people died because you know the effects of radiation are so different. It's not just like, for example, you got a bullet in your head and you're gonna die. It affects everyone the same way. Radiation, it's tiny particles penetrating your body from inside or from outside. So if you breathed it in or you swallowed something like radioactive particles, it start destroying you from inside. I don't remember exactly, but there's alpha particles, beta, and gamma. And I believe alpha, if I remember correctly, they can do the worst damage to your body, but even like a piece of paper can stop the alpha particle from hitting you. So those, if you swallow something, which has a radioactive decay, or you inhale it, then those particles like really destroy you from inside. It hits you on a cell level, destroy DNA, um, destroys your cells, blood cells. So everyone is different. I was in Kiev, and I just used to be short and dark, had a dark hair. Now I'm tall, blonde, and sexy. So some people just got different effects. But there's also a splash of cancer, especially in Belarus. If you look it up, like Belarus was worst affected by radiation because the when it's exploded it was going north, and they had a lot of cancers among kids, and we actually were sending a lot of kids to Cuba for treatment. Okay, there's a question in $1.99 donation from Zen Blitz. What is your opinion on Crimea and Sevastopol events? As I said, I'm, as Ukrainian, of course, uh, I'm against what Russia did, and but if life is better in Crimea, you know, good for them. But what Russia did is completely illegal. You know, they still keep, for example, part of the Kuril Islands that they took from Japan, which was totally illegal. You know, but they don't. I don't see them being in rush to return it to Japan, because you know they had a peace agreement, Japan and Soviet Union, but then Soviet Union broke the agreement and attacked Japan end of World War II, and they took a bunch of islands. Although Japan never broke any agreement, so you know this is kind of uh, question. But if people in Crimea are happy about it, then good for them. I have some viewers from Crimea, and they said it's less freedom and more money. So if you like that, sure. Okay, we'll answer about the plumbers question. Your English is very good. Well, thank you. Well, I live in America full time for 20 years. I'm married to American, and I'm pretty much like a boiling an American soup. So of course you're gonna have some American flavor. Although since I came to the United States quite late, I was 24. I will always have my accent. It's just the way I see it. Like if you take a rock and you drop it in the water, just being in that water, Russian water, it makes your edges smooth, so that your English become more smoother. Which is what I going on with me. My accent slowly disappears, but I will be Russian rock when it comes to that. If I'll be maybe like 12 or 15, there's a possibility that you won't tell the difference. My English will be close to perfect. Hey Sergey, when I went to Chernobyl in April, our tour guide said you couldn't buy bananas because they were seen as a Western food, so the government banned them. Definitely, it's not about Ukraine. It's possible about Russia, because Russia put some sanctions on the food from West, but bananas, I don't think they consider as Western food. So I think he was pulling your leg or yanking your banana, whatever you can call it, but I don't think it's true. But Russia, they stopped buying apples from Poland and bunch of foods from like Netherlands, like tomatoes, potatoes, and stuff like that. So, all right, let's see. We frozen here with questions. Okay, for some reason my screen froze a little bit, so I'm gonna try to see if I can look at some questions here. All right, there we go. Have you been in military in USSR or USA? No. I'm planning to make the video, and it's going to be long and boring videos, and not probably several of those about military service in Soviet Union. My eyesight is so poor that they only in case of war I'll be digging trenches, but otherwise I just was too blind to serve in military, so I was not. And when I came to the United States, it's kind of funny. My wife was not happy. I watched, on TV, they had a Navy advertising. They offered free videotapes, if you want to discover about Navy. So I ordered the free videotape, and then the recruits were calling for like 6 months, telling me so I need to join Navy. So she was quite upset about it. Do you have any personal family experience with Gulag in USSR? No, probably I won't be talking to you if my family had experience with Gulag, because it's usually a one-way ticket and you don't come back from Gulag. So that's the thing. Most people who live in Soviet Union, they are, what is the word, descendants from people who didn't go to Gulag. Uh, our neighbor was refused to join collective farm, and that's one of the things you don't want to do. So he was shipped on a train to Siberia, but he jumped off the train and then was hiding for years. So that's the only person I know was kind of on the way to Gulag as a kulak. So he survived. But yeah, usually if you try to find people, there's not many people who can tell, hey, my father, mother came from Gulag. Um, it's just people usually didn't come back from there. Okay. In Russian media today, there is honest discussion of what happened in Chernobyl. There is, you can say, discussion. I won't call it honest. It's right away kind of split, and people saying it wasn't that bad. It's only 30 people died, and it's goes as far as the CIA actually exploded the reactor. It's just the problem with Russia right now that government pushes really hard agenda how that Soviet Union was actually awesome and everything was great, and that show showed that the Soviet government was not cool, especially hiding information from its own people. That's why they're so upset, and I don't know about honest discussion, but definitely a heated discussion because a lot of young generation that never lived in Soviet Union, they think in Soviet Union was amazing. But it's easy to say it was amazing when you have an iPhone and you go to grocery stores and it's giant selection. But if they all set up kind of like how they used to be and give people a little flavor, they might change their mind. Like you go and at 5 a.m. and store is still closed till 7, but you get in line and you freeze your ass. I apologize for that because if you come at this when the store opens, there will be already no milk because it's all sold out. I had to do that when my brother was little. Um, you go early morning, way before hours before store open, and get in line so you can get milk for your little brother. Conrad, I just want to tell you how much I enjoy your channel. I've been watching for a while now. Keep up a good work. Thank you, team. Appreciate that. Uh, do you have any knowledge of gulags? They said there's a book you must read if you're interested about gulags. Is Gulag Archipelago Gulago by Solzhenitsyn and One Day in Life of Ivan Vasilievich. I strongly recommend to read those books. That guy was in Gulag. He served his term for writing in his letter something anti-government. So I would strongly recommend to read those books. They'll give you a good idea how people lived in Soviet labor camps. So a lot of interesting comments came from Scotland. I was impressed. I kind of made a mistake. I said it was a U.S. Navy base, but apparently there's a British Navy base in Scotland, and that's what I overheard conversation about. That it got hit. So apparently Scotland got quite a few pollution from Chernobyl, and I said there was American sub there, and they noticed the spike in a. It's not there, kind of like you have outside monitors or you check as a part of your rounds. They noticed spike in radiation, so they went on a full alert because they thought maybe them leaking had to get And I guess if you notice that, you must leave, go deep, and check what's wrong. And they couldn't figure out what's wrong because there wasn't them. So, all right, got a lot of comments that people like my channel. Did you hear other Soviet citizens speak in different minority languages like Georgian and Estonian? Uh, I lived in Kiev, Ukraine, and to said Kiev was mostly Russian-speaking language city. Like some Ukrainian people now upset with me because I say Kiev instead of Kyiv. I grew up; it was Kiev, and since people didn't move much, I talk about it in my video about Propiska. That we were kind of like locked in. You had to get permission from government to move to a different city or different republic. Um, so the only time I heard people speaking other languages was when I was in a village in up north Ukraine, in Chernihiv region. They speak their interesting mix of Belarusian, Russian, and Ukrainian. Can you talk about Muslims in the USSR? Not really. I never. There was those southern republics, and I personally didn't have any experience with them. I know they have their mosques there, but religion usually was quite suppressed in the Soviet Union. Russia won't actually ever give back any lands. Yeah, I agree. There's the same situation with Finland that they took a bunch of territories, but I think they kept them anyway. Sergey, how do you think your early life experience in the USSR affected your parenting and family life in the US? Oh, it affected quite a bit. I was quite a strict parent, and um, actually, my stepson, when he moved out, he sent me a note thanking me for some Soviet-style parenting because said because of you and you being strict, I'm quite successful person. It's kind of like the Tiger Mom deal. So this is like I guess Russian bear parenting. Although my dad he spanked me only once in all my life, my mom was always like, you know, I'll tell your dad to spank you, but she was the one who was spanking me if I did something naughty. So yeah, I did quite a bit, and same uh, with the family life, I guess. But I'm married for 20 years now. I mean, it wasn't easy, but we made through. There was some challenges, of course, with my mentality and my wife's American mentality, but I think we're doing good. Were people in USA scared of countries' enemies like America? Besides the United States, I don't think we were worried about any other countries. I mean, we knew that we can overrun Western Europe in 36 hours, so there was no concern. Britain maybe a little bit, but the main enemy was USA, Yankees. Sergey, happy Father's Day. Thank you so much. Did life better in Soviet Union or better in present day in Ukraine? A majority of people. It's a really good question. Definitely, I would say it's worse in Ukraine now, especially for older people. Um, but like my grandma, when she retired, she was getting 12 rubles a month pension, and you could purchase. I mean, it's a stupid comparison, but you could purchase 3 bottles of vodka. So her pension a month was worth 3 bottles of vodka. Now my mom, her pension is $70, 70. Uh, you could buy maybe, trying to think, I don't know the prices, but quite a bit more. So it's life was cheaper in some ways, but I would say it didn't improve definitely for most people. But if you look at the streets of Kiev, it's chocked full of cars for the average. If you're young and you work hard, you can do okay. I mean, there's some challenges, but most people have cars now. They travel, they go other countries. Older people, they definitely not doing that great because pensions are really low and expenses high. Like now, housing costs are pretty steep. So, like my brother and his wife and a kid, they have to live in the same apartment as my dad. My mom moved out. I helped her to buy a house out in the country, and my mom, like, there's never no way she would buy it on her own. Although it was only $2,000 for a house, and I still have to help them. So for older people, it definitely got worse. For young people, I think it's better now. So how is Ukraine doing better than Russia with the sanctions? I don't say Ukraine doing better than Russia. If Ukraine had natural resources like oil and gas, so it would be doing great. But unfortunately, just like in Russia, it's a huge corruption. There's several people like own pretty much most of the country, factories and stuff, and they're super rich, and the rest of the country struggles. So I won't say Ukraine doing better financially, but at least you see that Ukrainian people, if they really get upset, they can change their government. And look how many presidents changed in Ukraine since 1991, and how many presidents changed in Russia. So Russia's doing better financially, but freedom-wise, they're doing way worse, in my personal opinion. No question here, but thank you for doing this, and you install videos. You're welcome. Thank you for that you like my show. They're part of the commentary they lie about blast potential. It's a good question. They're talking about hydrogen explosion. That's my understanding. That's the main concern. If you have a super hot nuclear fuel or anything super duper hot and water, I mean, you pass boiling factor, then you start generating hydrogen, and when hydrogen gets in contact with oxygen, uh, it can explode. As more water you got, as more hydrogen you get, as more bigger explosion can be. So, and that's more about explosion of hydrogen, not reactor itself. Like the type of the uranium they use in reactors doesn't do nuclear reaction, but it can. I said it. That's what happened in Fukushima. All the explosions were from hydrogen, not from the actual reactor. There's a comment from Partizan that he lives he was in Belarus for 4 years and he got some radiation, but very little. All right, moving a lot. Oh, your thoughts of gun culture in USA? Do you own guns? I think it's a little bit crazy how much people love guns, but unfortunately, I'm anti-gun person, but I own two. I got a Mosin Nagant rifle and I got the Nagant revolver. It's just more like holy crap, I can own this iconic rifle that I can see in so many movies with, but I couldn't own them in Soviet Union, but in America I can. I don't remember last time. I never shot my revolver. I shot my rifle a long time ago, but I have them more like as a collection item than actually like I need to sit on the porch with my 22 and protect my Second Amendment rights. And personally, I think it's way too easy to buy guns and way too cheap in America. I It took me 30 minutes from like, really, you gonna sell me a gun? I never owned a gun. You don't give me any training, require any training. Don't ask for the some kind of papers that I'm not crazy. Just because I have $150 and a driver's ID, you're gonna sell me a gun? Yes. And I was like, wow, okay. Okay, so it looks like people like so there's a comment again about alpha particles. Polonium 210 apparently does that a lot. Okay, I'm kind of working backwards on the comments, and it looks like a lot of people appreciated my comment about becoming tall blonde after Chernobyl. And my father-in-law actually always adds that, and he used to be female too, but now that's not funny. Okay, moving along. We got about 5 minutes left. It's a Father's Day, and I think my wife's planning something, so we'll be ending the show. But I would like to see 200 likes, comrades. We only got 172. So if you please just hit it, and we can have 200 likes, and that'll be awesome. What is your view of Cpsu, Communist Party of Soviet Union? I guess. Well, they weren't communists in the end of it. Unfortunately, it became, if you want to move up on your career, you must become communist. Wow, goodness, we blew past 200 like there is no tomorrow. So, for example, okay, if you want to become director of the factory, you cannot be not a party member. So it was like a check mark. Okay, now it's my time to become a communist. Not because of my strong ideas or ideologies, just because I want to be uh, take that position, make good money. So I think that's one of the things that corrupted Communist Party is just people were joining it uh, for completely different reasons. In fact, I became a member of Komsomol, which is Young Communists, just because I was planning to go to college, and you had to be Komsomol member to go to college. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll need to sign paper that I would like to be a Komsomol member. So yeah, that's if you look people in the government in Russia right now, most of them are former communists, but it doesn't prevent them to rob country and become oligarchs and all that. So it wasn't about ideology, it's just about convenience. You're communist by convenience, not by ideology. How about that? Uh, I didn't serve in Soviet military, but I'm planning to make some videos about it. I had a lot of friends who served, so I have some information to share. But I said, I'm kind of scared to start that because it's gonna be a huge topic to touch if we wanna get into details. So it looks like yeah, there's a people confirm that they got more radiation from flying than being in a Chernobyl zone. All right, we got a donation for $5. Thank you so much. I don't see you have any questions, but thank you for supporting my channel. As I said, it will help me so I can make more videos and pay for my helper. Okay, looks like we almost caught up with all the questions. I can only like once, but I have a beer on me. Happy Father's Day. Thank you so much, Rich. I appreciate it. You know, I don't drink beer. I drink vodka, but thank you so much. It looks like people talking between themselves. I'm Ukrainian from Kiev. I'm a special kind of Ukrainian. I'm a Soviet Ukrainian. Is Some people put it, I'm a Sovkovy Chachol. Chachol is like a derogatory term for Ukrainians. So I grew up in the Soviet Union, so my first language was Russian. And a lot of my friends were Russians back in Kiev. So this question, are you Russophile or Russophobe? Okay, Russophile, you talk a lot about Russia, but you're Ukrainian. I talk about a lot about Soviet Union. This is the main topic of this channel. So anyway, have you visited Russia, Ukraine recently? We went there last year with my son. Stayed with my mom in the village for about 10 days, and we probably will go again end of July. I'm looking to buy tickets right now. So it's interesting, I was called Russophobe and Russophile, and I was called Ukrop. And it's interesting when you just kind of tell the story, it depending from which angle people look at your story. It knows like you have a glass of water, right? And if you look the right angle, it looks like it's full. If you look from a different angle, it looks like it's empty. So that's how people look at my videos. When you just kind of tell like it is, there's a totally different people get different conclusions out of your videos. Like they think why you hate Soviet Union or why you love Soviet Union. I just any similarities you see between Trump and Putin? No. My personal opinion, Trump is dumb as a bag of rocks, and Putin is very smart. Um, so I don't see any similarities. Besides that, he would like to have America kind of like this, and like Putin has Russia. Total control over media. That's what pisses Trump off. All this is whole fake news agenda because in Russia for a long time you can't say anything negative about the government. I mean, recently they actually made the law that you can get in jail or get huge fines if you say something negative about government officials. So Trump would love that. He is so insecure. Uh, so he just would like to have America, and also he kind of mentioned he would like longer terms for presidents, which Putin kind of runs already, 18 years. So there's a lot of wannabes from kind of Trump's perspective. And, there's another deal about authoritarian countries. They, it's easier to have things done. Doesn't matter right or wrong way. Like try to do something in America, you gotta go through Congress, you gotta go Senate, there's the hearings, the voting. In Russia or Soviet Union, it's just like, okay, make it happen. And they may have it make it happen or they make it look like it happened. But so this is kind of sometimes you're like, man, I wish they just do that. In America, it's the only way that being done quicker to start a new war. It's Democrats, Republicans, they will vote for it right away. Otherwise, they just like at each other's throats, choking each other, and nothing gets done. Okay. What watch did you wear in the Soviet Union? That's a good question. My grandfather gave me Победа brand watch. Was his for being a good student. Actually, yeah, I was begging for that watch for quite a while, but I think I finally got it when he passed away. He was just promising, but he never uh, doing. And then I bought this watch from made in Hong Kong, which just played 16 melodies. And I'm for a while was a Timex guy, and now I got a Casio. Yep, Casio Top Solar. I like electronic watches. I don't like mechanical anymore. Okay, well, it's 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining me. And was a petty robber in Bulgaria problem? Yes, was actually my dad once caught a guy trying to get hand in his back pocket when he had cash. So he caught him. The boss stopped. My dad and a couple of guys dragged the guy outside, beat the living crap out of him, and went back on the bus, and that was the end of it. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I will gonna relaunch this video, and then if I missed your question, you can post under it, and we'll try to answer it. My next video I'm planning to make about funerals in the Soviet Union. I'm sorry, I'm already yapping too much. So that's my next project. There are some more videos about Chernobyl. And there's a lot of memories started coming back. So anyways, so yeah, if I didn't answer your question, please post it under this video. It'll be about a couple hours while it's get relaunched, and then we will see you soon. Thank you for joining, everyone. Who's the guys? Happy Father's Day. Thank you so much. До свидания. Goodbye.